They laughed when she chose love over status. Her parents said she had thrown away her future for a man who served plates. But when he walked into their gala in a custom suit, a CEO badge on his chest, and a confidence they never saw coming, their faces said everything. Because his badge didn't just carry a title, it carried their company's name. Zena was the only daughter in a very rich and respected family in Lagos. Her parents always told her she must marry a rich man or someone powerful in politics. That was their dream for her. They believed anything less would bring shame to their name. Zena tried to please them for years, meeting the men they chose, pretending to care, but her heart never felt right with any of them. Then one day, at a fancy event, she met Tobena, a simple, humble waiter. He didn't have money or status, but he had something no one else did: kindness, honesty, and a heart full of respect. They talked, they laughed, and slowly she fell for him. When she told her family, everything exploded. Her father shouted that she was throwing her life away. Her mother looked at her like a stranger and stopped speaking to her. Her siblings blocked her on social media and even deleted every photo they had with her. They told her she had one choice: either leave Tobena or be removed from the family forever. Zena's heart was broken, but she stood tall. She chose love over pride, kindness over power. With no money, no car, and no support, she packed a small bag, held Tobena's hand, and walked out of that mansion. She left behind luxury and comfort, but carried with her something more valuable: her dignity, her truth, and a man who truly loved her. Zena's new life with Tobena was nothing like the world she came from. She went from living in a big house with servants, chandeliers, and soft carpets, to a small one-room flat with cracked walls and a leaking tap. The room was hot, the fan barely worked, and they had only one burner to cook their meals. Most nights, they ate simple food, sometimes just bread and tea, and sat on the floor to share it. But they laughed, they held hands, they looked at each other with eyes full of love, not regret. Tobena worked 2 jobs just to pay rent and keep the lights on. He would leave early in the morning and return very late, tired but smiling. Zena always welcomed him with a warm hug, even if there wasn't much food to eat. She didn't complain. Instead, she looked for ways to help. Secretly, she started making handmade beads and simple crafts, things she had learned long ago from her grandmother. She took pictures with her small phone and posted them online, hoping someone would buy. At first, nothing happened, but little by little, orders started to come in. She wrapped each item with care and sent them out with hope. Tobena didn't know how much effort she was putting in. He thought she was just passing time, but Zena was fighting quietly to make life easier. Every naira they earned was stretched. They delayed paying some bills and laughed through the stress, holding each other when things got tough. But deep inside, Zena sometimes cried when no one was watching. She missed her mother's touch, her siblings' laughter, and the family dinners she once took for granted. Even when they treated her badly, they were still her family. But she kept her pain hidden. She didn't want Tobena to feel guilty or think she regretted choosing him, because no matter how small their room was or how hard life became, one thing remained strong: their love. And for Zena, that love was worth more than gold. Tobena wore a simple uniform and served food at events, but behind his calm smile and quiet nature, there was a big secret he hadn't told anyone, not even Zena. Years ago, after losing his parents, Tobena was adopted by a kind and brilliant Ghanaian man who was one of the top tech minds in West Africa. The man treated Tobena like a son and taught him everything he knew about business and technology. Before he died, he left Tobena with something special: a folder full of powerful tech ideas and unpublished patents that the world had never seen. After the man passed, Tobena returned to Nigeria and took a simple waiter job. People saw him as ordinary, but he was never just a waiter. In between serving drinks and clearing tables, he worked quietly with a small tech startup group, a place that helps young people turn ideas into real businesses. Inspired by his own struggles and by watching other workers suffer in silence, he began to build something powerful: a mobile app that would help service workers get paid faster, save money easily, and protect their tips. He worked on the app every night after work, writing codes on his small laptop, learning more, and connecting with mentors from the startup world. He poured his heart into the project, but never told Zena. He didn't want her to think he was rich or came from wealth. He didn't want her to ever feel like she married him because of his future success. He wanted her to love him just as he was: simple, hardworking, and real. As his project slowly started gaining attention and support, Tobena stayed quiet. Every time Zenas smiled at him, proud of the little they had, he smiled back, knowing he was building something big, not just for them, but for everyone who had ever been overlooked like him. Zenas sat on the floor of their small apartment, carefully stitching beads onto a handmade bag. It was late at night, but she didn't stop. She had been posting her work online for months, hoping someone would notice. One day, without warning, a popular fashion blogger in South Africa shared Zenas' designs on Instagram. Everything changed overnight. Orders flooded in. Her tiny page exploded with followers. Emails from fashion buyers and stylists filled her inbox. She was shocked when she got invited to a fashion showcase in Nairobi, something she never dreamed would happen. She cried quietly that night, holding Tobena's hand, but didn't say much. She didn't want to brag. They still lived in the same tiny room, still shared one fan, still ate together from one plate. Nothing had changed between them, and she wanted to keep it that way. Meanwhile, Tobena's life was also changing fast. The app he had been working on, quietly, night after night, finally caught the attention of an angel investor from Ghana. The investor believed in his idea and gave him enough money to grow the business. Soon, Tobena hired 2 developers and rented a small office space. His mobile payment app started spreading across West Africa. Cafes, hotels, and salons began using it. People were talking about the new Yaoe everywhere, but Tobena kept his head low. He didn't come home with flash. He still brought Zena roasted corn and groundnuts on his way home, just like before. Even as their names began to grow in their separate worlds, they both stayed silent about their wins. They would sit on the balcony at night, laughing over tea, never discussing fame or money. Their love was not built on success. It was built on sacrifice, loyalty, and shared dreams. They chose not to show off because deep down, they knew the world would find out in its own time. One afternoon, Zena's phone buzzed with a message that made her heart skip a beat. It was an invitation to a huge business gala hosted by her father, but the invitation wasn't for her. It was addressed to Mrs. Tobena. She stared at the screen, confused and angry. Her family had ignored her for so long, treating her like she didn't exist. Yet now, they were inviting her husband, not because they cared about her, but because Tobena's app, Yaoe, had suddenly become very popular and powerful. Her family had no idea who Tobena really was before, but now they wanted to be connected to his success. Zena felt a mix of emotions: shock, hurt, and doubt. Was this invitation a way to insult her? Were they trying to show off that they now accepted Tobena because of his money and status? Or maybe they finally wanted to recognize the man she had believed in all along. The invitation felt like a test, a question hanging in the air. Should she accept it and face the family that rejected her? Or should she stay away and protect herself from more pain? For days, she thought about it. She talked to Tobena, but he stayed quiet, trusting her to decide. The idea of walking into the same room where her family once laughed at her was terrifying, but part of her wanted to see their faces when they realized how wrong they had been. Still, she didn't want to be there for revenge or to prove them wrong. She wanted something better: peace, respect, and the chance to show them who she and Tobena really were. That invitation was not just a card in the mail, it was a turning point. It challenged everything she thought about family, pride, and love. Zena knew that whatever she decided, her life was about to change, not because of what her family thought, but because she was ready to step into her own power. The night of the gala was filled with sparkling lights and loud chatter. Zena felt nervous as she stood at the entrance, her heart pounding. She wasn't sure if she was ready to face her family after everything. The hall was full of rich people, dressed in glittering gowns and sharp suits. Her parents were there, sitting at the front, talking quietly, but with clear disrespect. They were mocking her, laughing about how she had married a waiter, like she had made a terrible mistake. Their voices were just loud enough for her to hear, and it hurt deep inside. Just then, the doors opened, and Tobena stepped in. He was late, not by accident, but by choice. When he appeared, he looked completely different from the humble waiter everyone remembered. He wore a sharp, perfectly tailored 3-piece suit that made him stand out in the best way. His calm confidence filled the room as he walked straight to the podium. The chatter stopped. The crowd parted. watching him with surprised eyes. Zena's parents stared, their faces turning pale as they realized who was standing before them. On his chest, shining under the lights, was a silver badge. It read, Tobena A. Ike CEO Yaoe Tech. The very company that was the talk of the tech world now had Tobena as its leader. The man they had laughed at, rejected, and dismissed was now one of the most powerful figures in the room. A heavy silence fell over the hall. No one dared to say a word. The family that had once shunned Zena and Tobena was forced to watch the man they looked down on become someone they couldn't ignore. Tobena didn't yell or brag. He simply stood tall and proud, proving that success comes quietly, and true power doesn't need loud announcements. It shows itself in moments like this. Zena's heart swelled with pride. This was more than a victory. It was justice. The man who was once a waiter had stepped into a role so big it shattered every doubt and insult. The people who had rejected love and kindness now had to face the truth. Tobena's strength and success were real, and nothing could take that away. After the silence filled the room, Zena's father tried to break the tension with a nervous laugh. He stood up and said a few words, but everyone could tell it was fake, just an empty apology. He wanted to act like everything was fine, like Tobena's success didn't matter or wasn't real, but the guests saw right through it. His voice shook, and his eyes avoided Tobena's. Then Tobena calmly took the microphone from the host. His voice was steady and kind, not angry or loud. He didn't come to humiliate anyone. Instead, he shared their story, how he and Zena started with nothing, living in a small flat, struggling with bills and long days. He spoke about the hard work and belief that kept them going, especially Zena's belief in him when no one else did. He thanked Zena in front of everyone, saying she stood by him not for money or fame, but because of true love. His words touched the room. People listened quietly, some wiping away tears, others nodding in respect. It wasn't just a success story. It was a story about faith, loyalty, and patience. The applause started softly and grew louder. The crowd stood up, clapping for the couple's journey, their courage, and their triumph. Tobena's story wasn't just about business. It was about beating the odds and standing tall when the world expected failure. But behind all the clapping, Zena's family sat frozen. Their shame was deep and silent. They had judged and rejected Zena and Tobena, and now, in front of all these important people, they had to face the truth. They were the ones who had lost, not because of money, but because of their pride and cold heart. Even as the applause echoed, her father's face remained tight with regret. Her mother's eyes glistened with unshed tears. Her siblings avoided looking at Zena. The family's silence said it all. They had been wrong, and they knew it. Tobena and Zena didn't celebrate with arrogance. Instead, they held hands quietly, proud and humble. They had turned the tables, but they gave grace, not revenge. That night wasn't just a win. It was a lesson in kindness, love, and staying true to yourself no matter what others say. After the gala, Zena's life started to change in ways she never expected. A successful businesswoman who had watched the event was so moved by Zena's story and strength that she reached out with an offer to help. She wanted to give Zena a big chance, a major distribution deal that could take Zena's handmade crafts brand to stores all across the country. It was the kind of opportunity Zena had dreamed of, but never dared to hope for so soon. This offer was proof that hard work and believing in herself was paying off. Zena felt proud, but stayed humble, knowing this was only the beginning. While Zena was busy building her future, her mother sent her a message. The message was carefully written, sounding like concern and care, but deep down, Zena knew it was more about fixing their broken relationship now that she was successful. Her mother apologized for how things had been and asked if they could talk. It was a quiet way to ask for forgiveness, without directly saying it. Zena read the message with a calm heart. She remembered all the times she had been ignored, mocked, and left alone by the family who was supposed to love her most. Without anger, Zena typed back a reply that was both polite and strong. She wrote, "I don't need a family that only recognizes me when the world claps." Those words said everything. She was not going to forget the pain, or pretend nothing happened just because things looked better now. Zena knew her worth wasn't tied to her family's approval. or their sudden interest in her life. Her true strength came from inside, from the love she shared with Tobena and the hard work she put into building her own success. Zena's quiet victory wasn't just about fame or money, it was about respect and self-love. She had chosen herself over people who didn't believe in her, and now she was walking her own path with pride. The world was starting to see her, not because of where she came from, but because of who she was and what she had built. Zena showed everyone that real victory comes when you stay true to yourself, no matter how hard the journey. Months after her big success, Zena made a decision that surprised everyone who knew her story. The family beach house, the one her parents had been forced to sell after losing money on a bad business deal, was on the market again. Zena didn't hesitate. She bought the house, and it felt like more than just a property. It was a symbol, a way to take back something that had been lost in the chaos and pain of her past. This house, once a place of family memories, was going to have a new purpose, and this time it would be on Zena's terms. Instead of letting it stay empty, or just a reminder of her family's failures, Zena turned the beach house into a creative retreat. But this wasn't just any retreat. It was a special place for women entrepreneurs who didn't have much money or support, women who worked hard, who dreamed big, but didn't have the chance to shine. Zena wanted to give them hope and a place to grow, just like she had done with her handmade crafts and Tobena's app. This retreat became a space full of energy, ideas, and encouragement. Women from all over came to learn, share, and inspire each other. The beach house had become a new home, not for her family, but for a new kind of family, built on respect, love, and support. Zena's mother heard about the retreat and reached out. She wanted to visit, maybe hoping to reconnect or find some way back into Zena's life. Zena thought carefully. She decided to invite her mother, but with clear boundaries. Her mother could come, but only as a visitor, not as the mother who had ignored and hurt her. This was Zena's way of showing that she was willing to be kind and open, but she wasn't going to forget or accept the past pain as if it never happened. It was a moment of strength, not revenge, but control. Zena was closing one chapter and opening another, a new life shaped by her own choices, not by the mistakes or rules of others. In this way, Zena's journey came full circle. She returned to what was once lost, but she did it with power and grace. The beach house wasn't just a building anymore. It was a symbol of Zena's freedom, her success, and her new family, one built on her terms, with love and respect leading the way. Tobena carefully took the silver badge from the gala, the one that had made the whole room go silent, the one that showed he was now the CEO of Yaoe. Instead of keeping it hidden or putting it away, he had it beautifully framed. He hung it on the wall in their small living room, right next to a photo of Zena and him from the very first night they met. That picture showed a simple moment. Two people just starting out, full of hope and love, unaware of the storm they would face together. For Zena, winning was never about showing off or proving anyone else wrong. All she ever wanted was to be seen for who she really was. Not the daughter her family expected, but a woman strong enough to choose her own path. That badge wasn't just a symbol of success. It was a symbol of respect, love, and the power they built with each other's support. It told the story of how they faced rejection, struggled with little, but never gave up on their dreams or each other. Now, with the badge shining on their wall, Tobena and Zena live freely. They don't need to prove anything to anyone else anymore. They have proven themselves right. Their love has grown stronger. Their legacy is built with honesty and hard work, and their power comes from their own choices. This badge reminds them daily of how far they've come, from a small flat and unpaid bills, to a life where they make their own rules and celebrate their own victories. Together, they've shown that real success isn't about titles or money alone. It's about believing in each other when no one else did. It's about holding on to love and pride in a world that tried to take both away. And now, with the badge on their wall, their story stands as proof that sometimes being true to yourself is the greatest victory of all. If you believe in choosing love over status and standing strong when the world doubts you, share this story. Tag someone who needs to hear that real success comes from staying true to yourself. Don't forget to like, comment your thoughts, and follow for more inspiring stories that prove you can rise above anything.